Hi guys, welcome to my channel DevOps by Meenu. So in the last video we saw how we can connect to SSH using SSH2 EC2 instance using the VS Code. And apart from that, we have done one real-time project how we can test locally taking any application, whether it is a Python or Java application, and how we can run local executions by running the main application file, then how we are creating the Docker images and how we are running the Docker file, and how we are able to access through application. These all and we just saw in our last video only. If anybody is missed that video, please go and watch that video, so then again you can able to come into the track of the video. So in this video what we are going to do means, in the last video we have done just creating the Docker file, creating the Docker file and running the Docker images. So, and we just access through web server only. So in this video we just move to 2-3 steps forward, how we are creating how we are pushing this Docker image to ECR repo. After that, we can create one Jenkins CI/CD pipeline. So there we can search how we can run that pipeline. So first, let me connect to my instance. So I'll connect to Visual Studio Code. Let me go to command palette, connect to host. Here I gave as my instance. If you're not aware how to connect to uh, EC2 instance using SSH, please go and watch the previous video. And okay, let me connect. It is connecting. Okay, so we'll see the Docker images. So here the chartboard image which I created 5 days back. I mean, in the last video I just created the Docker image. So now I want to push this Docker image to ECR repo. For that, what I'm going to do is, first I'll go to I'll log into my AWS console, and here I can search for the ECR. Let me open container registry. So here I don't have any repos created. Okay. So let me create a new repo. Like I'll create like a chartboard. So remaining you can leave it as default. Click on create. So this is the chartboard. So once if you created, so here you will get a view push commands. You can just click on that. So if you give the first command AWS ECR get login hyphen something, Docker login. So what it will do mean, it will directly log into your Docker container registry, that is Amazon ECR. So let me copy and paste here. See here we got one issue with AWS not found but can be installed with sudo apt install AWS CLI, which means that here in our instance, like in EC2 instance or Ubuntu, whatever it may be. So here AWS CLI, like AWS command line, is not installed. Hence we got face this issue. So to fix this issue, just go to the browser, click on AWS CLI download. In that you will get the first link, which is redirecting to AWS documentation. There it will give the complete step-by-step instructions how we can download and install. So mine is the Linux instance, so I'll click on this sudo so if we have already existing, so we can remove and we can install. But still mine is newly created instance, so I haven't installed anything. So let me do one thing, let me copy paste each and every command. So let me copy. Here it is unable to find the unzip, so because we don't have installed the package like unzip, let me install that as well, which is done. Now we'll unzip the AWS CLI. See, it is got unzipped. Then we can check Then we can install AWS CLI by using the command sudo /aws install. Now we can check AWS hyphen version. Then we can check whether AWS CLI is installed. If it is installed, we can get like this version. So now everything is perfect. Now we can run AWS login command. AWS ECR get login. Okay. Here Here we have got another error like AWS ECR get login password unable to locate credentials. You can configure using AWS configure. So whenever we want to perform or whenever we want to connect to AWS services, in that case we need to provide our AWS like AWS credentials like AWS access key and a secret key that we can create from IAM console. So now let me go to AWS IAM console. Let me go to users. Here I have one user called test. For this, I'll create a security credentials, create access key for command line interface, understand and recommend the product access key. Okay, create access key. So here I got access key and security key. Let me download as CSV file, or otherwise I can directly copy from here. No worries, I can remove this after this session. AWS configure, access key. This is my secret access key. And default region. So mine is, so here I'm doing for the US East 1 Virginia. So I'll give as US East 1. So if you don't want to include this default region, you can simply click on enter and skip this. So now everything is gone configured. Now let me retry the command. We'll see. Here permission denied while trying to connect to Docker daemon. So it is default of the permissions issue. Let me do one thing. Error cannot perform interactive login. 1 second. Let me check my AWS configure as well. Okay. Because here we created the user called test. But for this test user doesn't have any permissions. Here I gave Amazon EC2 container registry full access. But still we are getting error. Let me do one thing. Let me log in as sudo. Okay. Let me retry this command again. AWS configure, access key ID, it is open. Secret access key, US East 1. Okay. See, now we got login as success. So because of the root permissions we are getting error, so now we can able to log in successfully. Next let me run other. So when you're creating the security access key and secret key as well, just keep this one EC2 container registry access, so because it will give the permission for the ECR repo. So next let me run this again. Next let me run the second command again. Okay, here it shows as no file, means we are needs to go to path. Here my Python application. Here we have the chartboard. Here we have the Docker file. So here we need to run the command. Next we can tag using Docker tag. Tagging is done. Then let me push to Docker push and it will give the command for the. So now it going to push into the Docker container registry. See here it got pushed. Let me refresh and show you. Let me refresh. See here we got the image URL. See here image got pushed. So in this way we can able to create the Docker image and we can provide the permissions like in IAM how we can provide the permissions and we can able to. So if you want to pull this Docker image like in a Docker like in a GitHub how we are pulling the latest code to your local repo or other container in the same way. So if you want to pull this image you can just copy this image URL and go to your server or wherever maybe. So when you check Docker images here you have two images and if you want to pull the Docker pull, so it got pulled. Let me check Docker images now as well. See here we go, sorry here it is not updated but what it will do means so whatever the here it is shows the status as images up to date. So here we already have images, so if there is any change modification it needs to pull but there is no any change modification, hence it shows as image is up to date. Suppose if I remove this Docker image, Docker remove and I'll give image ID. Let me forcefully, let me stop, let me stop with the container ID. Let me check what are the process are using this image. So Docker stop, and if you want to remove this container we can use command Docker remove. Now we can run the Docker remove image. Now it got removed. See, now we have the Docker images. We don't have any Docker images. So now if you want to pull the image you can use the command Docker pull and the image ID. See, now we can check Docker images. See, we have that image. In this way we can able to create the ECR repo and push Docker images to ECR repo, and we can how here we just saw how we can delete the Docker images, how we can remove the containers. We'll see in a next session how we can create the Jenkins CI/CD pipeline for that. Once if we create the pipeline, we instead of these manual talk, Jenkins will take care of the all the process like creating the Docker images, pushing to ECR repo, and pulling to uh, I mean, and pulling to the destination server, and we can how we can able to access our application through browser and everything we can check in the next session. Thanks for your valuable time. Thanks for watching.